The Department of Homeland Security says its long-promised ICE immigration operation in Chicago, dubbed Operation Midway Blitz, is now underway. And what they're calling the worst of the worst in Chicago is their target. But according to the Washington Post, local officials and immigrant advocates said federal immigration officers began making arrests in Chicago on Sunday and had taken at least 5 people into custody, including a well-known flower vendor and people waiting at a bus stop and on a sidewalk. Joining us now is the Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton. Thanks for being here. Do you have a good sense of what's happening in Chicago, the scope of Operation Midway Blitz so far?
We don't have a lot of information. I mean, first of all, we do know the name of this sick reality show, the Midway Blitz. And we have not had real coordination from this administration at all. In fact, we haven't had any official communication from the White House, the Trump administration. They're not working with us, and it's by design. They don't want to work with us because this is not an action that is focused on public safety. You just reported that they said that they were going after the worst of the worst. And then what we found out is that some of the actions from this weekend were a flower vendor or people at a bus stop. They are going after hardworking people who have been our neighbors for years, if not decades. This is not about public safety. This is about the Trump administration wanting to be the center of attention and to really cause chaos in our cities to distract from his failures.
Have you gotten any indication at all that any of these arrests might be of someone who the Trump administration would consider to be the worst of the worst?
Well, I think the operations are just getting underway, so we don't have a lot of information. But what I can say is that entire communities are experiencing the fear of these threats. I can say that there are people who are scared to take their children to school. And I can say that I've talked to business owners who know that that business is down because people are afraid, that we have big celebrations coming up to celebrate Mexican Independence Day, for example. And there are people who are changing their plans because of what's happening. So this is not about public safety, and this is not about going after the quote unquote worst of the worst. This is a power grab by the Trump administration. He wants to not only instill fear through these sort of intensified immigration efforts, but that's just the first step in this authoritarian plan, because what would come next is that knowing that people would protest and then bringing in and saying, well, now I have to send in the federalized troops so that people will get used to seeing the military on American soil. And we've made it clear here in Illinois that we will never find comfort in that. We don't need that. We don't want it. And that we will stand up and make our voices heard, and we will do so peacefully but loudly.
We did speak, some of our folks from NBC News, with organizers and activists at a Faith Over Fear rally in downtown Chicago just yesterday. And here's what they told us about the ICE operations.
Yesterday, I got a dozen calls. Should I come to church today? Should I go to work tomorrow? Good. I had students texting me, worried, hey, is there an online option for CPS that I can do?
What is ICE going to do here? They're not going to do anything for us. They're not going to do anything for anybody here. They're just here just to interrupt people's lives.
Interrupt people's lives. I wonder what else you're hearing. What are the concerns from the everyday residents?
Well, I think everyday residents are concerned about what this process actually looks like. I mean, first of all, you say that this is an operation that is focused on public safety. That's what the administration has said, but there's no coordination with our administration. There's no information about what they are doing, where they are doing it. They're not working in collaboration with us here in Illinois, and they're not working with the governor and our administration to make sure that we know exactly what the plans are. But again, I think people are also very clear, like you just heard, that it is starting with that fear. We know that people are going to raise their voices, and the biggest concern is that then it will require, at least from Trump's standpoint, that now I have to come in and swoop down and clean up Illinois, clean up the city of Chicago. There is no emergency here. There's no need for this ultimate goal of sending federalized troops. And in so many ways, it is the cruelty that is the point. wanting people to be scared, wanting people to be worried about their children. And I think about this all the time. I'm a mom, and I think about my own daughter walking not walking, we drop her off at school, but having to see tanks or Humvees or armed guards walking up and down the streets. That is not normal. And we cannot make it normal. If he really wants to help improve public safety in our city and in our state, then he would release the $800 million of violence prevention funding that he's holding back, or make sure that people have access to health care or affordable housing or education, and not dismantle the Department of Education. Those are the kinds of things that will help us in the city of Chicago and in the state of Illinois. That is not what Donald Trump is interested in.
Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, thank you so much for your time.